Excellent. So, welcome back to the business model testing. Here we will discuss about how appropriate and effective the business model is. So, thank you for still being with us. That means that these presentations are okay and that we have kept your attention. So, at this module that we will speak about a brief summary of the business models, the advanced business model testing with smart technology, the lean startup methodology, the concept of MVPs or minimum viable products, and the small business scalability. So we'll also introduce you to the fourth industrial revolution and revolutionized way of doing business with an assistance of modern technology. So to recap about the business model, when you finish the ideation process, you have an idea, you understand what you're dealing with, you have identified the problem, you've identified and see the desire of the customers to buy your product, you have low competition, then you know your unique selling points and you've done your market research, then you are able to answer what product or service your company will sell, how it intends to market that product or service, what kind of expenses it will face, and how it expects to turn a profit. So most of these things are going to be answered using the canvas model, the business canvas model, like what's your product, how it tends to market, etc. What I'm really interested or surprised is the poll that Eleni did. So a lot of you would like to help the world make a better place. Excellent. A lot of you would like to be the boss, to have the freedom to make innovations. But unfortunately, none of you have, or it was with really small letters, none of you have said that it's here to do profit. So that's really interesting because the basic idea of business is to do profit. So you don't do business in order to become a boss. You don't do business in order to, I don't know, free the world or feel free. You do business to turn profit. That's the ultimate goal of any business. Okay, jokes aside, let's speak about the Cambridge business model, the Cambridge business model innovation process. So you have these 8 steps of 3 phases: the concept design, the detail design, and implementation. So the business models are known as a blueprint for the small business success, or as someone from like me coming from mechanical engineering, it's the technical drawing where you have everything. You have your views, you have your dimensions, you have your auxiliary views, I don't know, bill of materials, everything is inside, so you can start building your process. The business model creation stage is actually the planning stage of your business. So as you may heard previously, the planning phase of any process is the most important one. So to the entrepreneurs, the business model helps to put aside their own excitement about their business idea and to make a realistic evaluation of the potential success of the actual business idea. So this figure represents a comprehensive view of the business model innovation process. Broadly speaking, the business model describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value in various contexts, either that's economic, social, cultural, or whatever. So as studied in the previous module, the primary component of the business model is the value proposition. So that's the key element, or how you solve the problem, or what's the value that you give to your customers. This is a description of the goods or service that a company offers and why they're desirable to customers or clients, ideally stated in a way that differentiates the product or service from its competitors. So in fact, the business model is high-level plan for profitability operating a business in specific marketplace. Again, I will stress it, for profitability. So in the previous module, the business model canvas, which is a strategic management template for developing new or documenting existing business models, this module focuses on more advanced methods for business model testing. This is why it is necessary the main points for the business model to be briefly summarized. So moving from that to the advanced business model testing with smart technology. So Industry 4.0 is the buzzword nowadays, or a couple of years ago. So everything is about smart technology, the fourth industrial revolution, and so on. What it brings, it's the ongoing automation of traditional manufacturing and industrial processes using modern smart technologies. What are the results? It's enhanced businesses, higher levels of digitalization, increased efficiency and effectiveness, scalability, and profitability, and so on. So the most important step in the development of the business idea towards a profitable business is testing and improving the business model. So here is the step where you need to, it's a go or no go for the business. For that purpose, the entrepreneurs need to talk to their potential customers. That's the best way. And that means they will need to build an initial offer based on the value that is defined in the business model. The feedback that you will gain from these talks with potential customers should serve you as a guide to make improvements in your business model and improving certain elements of the business model, such as the value, the distribution channels, or the sales tactics, or whatever. As you've heard from the previous presentations, let's say like Spotify is doing, offering something for free, but you can skip your songs 6 times. After that, you have to pay. So then you discuss that with your potential customers or with actual customers, and you see if you need to change your model or tactics or whatever. So in respect to the smart technology, the topical discussion is held on the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0. So it's widely relevant to enhancement of the industrial sector represented with various company size. Due to the benefits realized by the application of smart technologies, its importance and acknowledged also for the sector of SMEs. So let us start with the definition of Industry 4.0. According to Wiki, as quoted in TechRadar and a lot of other places, everything that you need to know. In fact, that's Industry 4.0. In fact, it refers to the fourth industrial revolution, which is characterized by the ongoing automation. So it bases around the fact that the companies are aware about the digitalization and widely spread and ubiquitous technologies assisting the businesses in various parts of their development, as well as the way of development of their products and services. So out of that, we get nowadays companies that the biggest taxi company does not own a single car. The biggest hotel booking company does not own a hotel, and stuff like that. So things that have been provided us with Industry 4.0. So now I would like to speak about the modern innovation ecosystems. So the entrepreneurial university is the central part. In my previous presentation for ideation, I was speaking about how important entrepreneurial education is, and that creativity and entrepreneurship can be facilitated and learned. So the modern innovation ecosystems, or everything around this idea, are extended with hybrid organizations acting as intermediaries and facilitating the exchange of knowledge, ideas, and establishing relationships among various stakeholders in the ecosystem. So universities established as hybrid units that serve as one-stop shop and act as these intermediaries. These units are often equipped with smart technologies like lean manufacturing, lean startup technologies, rapid prototyping, etc. So we will see why this is important. Moving from the ecosystem towards, we've mentioned the lean startup methodology. So what's this all about? There is a paradigm shift in the startups development processes. So from what we have known so far towards, or the traditional way, towards the lean startup methodology. Now, a bit more details on the smart technologies that are adopted by these hybrid organizations. So these are the ones that are dealing with business development, ideation, incubation, acceleration, stages of achieving scalability, profitability, rapid growth, etc., etc. So some of these technologies are industrial technologies, addressing the engineering aspect, while others address the business development aspects, such as the lean startup methodology. It is noticeable that the lean philosophy could serve as a base for developing technology from both categories. So I'm not sure how much familiar you are with lean manufacturing. It is a production method that is based on 5 key principles. That's precisely specify value by specific product, identify the value stream for each product, make value flow without interruptions, and let customers pull value from the producer. And the 5th one is pursue perfection. So this lean manufacturing philosophy is coming from the Toyota production system. So combined with some other principles like 5S and just in time, Kanban, Kaizen, so all these other Japanese business technologies. So combining and experimenting with business hypotheses and launching the product in iterations and validating the learning, it's the basics of the lean startup methodology. So all these 5 principles implemented into the business segment. So the methodology based on the assumptions that by iteratively building products or services to satisfy early customers, the startup company reduces the market risks and the need for large initial investments, launching expensive products and failures. Let me compare this to, sorry, the next slide. So the traditional and lean. In the traditional way, set to this, we will have to have an ideation phase, right? We will come up with a product. We will have the blueprint out of it. We'll have technical documentation. And then we need to invest money into building the first product, right? We need to start 0 series production stage. And that's really costly because let's say it's something that you do from plastic, then you have to have, you need injection molding machines, a mold, tool, die to be produced, materials, people, resources to produce the first series to show to the customers and see what their reaction is. So that's traditional way. The entrepreneurs strive to deliver the perfect product to the potential customer. So you have to have it right in the first term, and that's really difficult because it's a skill. It's not only a skill. It's a gift. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't. But with lean development, it takes place in iterations. So each iteration of the project, it's tested with potential customers. So we start with idea, you build, you measure, you learn, then you pivot this circle. And that's possible with the new technologies, let's say rapid prototyping, 3D printing technology, right? So you do this from plastics. In order to show to the customers, you do a prototype out of plastics that costs you €3, something like that. You can buy the printer for €700, or you can use it as a service from somebody in your area and buy, I don't know, €20 for that. So for €30, you have a physical prototype that you can show to your customers and see how they react on it. Also, with these technologies, a little bit more expensive, but you can have a functional prototype and you can test the effects of it, how does it operate. So that's the difference between traditional and lean startup process. On the traditional one, you have extensive planning. So in the previous startups environment, you had to write a robust business plan with all the steps, everything inside. Now you do that with a business canvas model, which is a one-pager. On the traditional one, the intuition was the key element. So you have to have it right from the first time. Right now, with the lean startup process, you get a lot of user feedback. So you don't base your product on intuition, but you base it on the feedback that you get from customers. So that's really important. And in that way, it's much easier to make a better product. Predefined design versus iterative designs in many steps. Final perfect product versus minimum viable product. Execution, implementation of the business model versus looking for a repeatable and scalable business model. A complex business plan, as I said, with multi-year projections versus a business model canvas. And development of concept without customer participation due to competition threats. And on the opposite side, with lean startup process, we have presenting the concepts to the client and getting feedback. So the lean development tasks place in iterations, and in each iteration, the product is tested with potential customers. That's really important to understand. So this is what these two base upon. So the business process reengineering, the picture on your far left, and Kaizen, that's the Japanese continuous development philosophy, that's the picture in the middle. So in the business process reengineering, you have an idea, you build your product, and over time it grows in performance. And in some point, you need to do a BPR to re-engineer the process in order to continue growing. Otherwise, you will stagnate and start falling down. In the Kaizen philosophy, that's faster with smaller steps. So the best way is to combine these two, innovation plus Kaizen. So you have an innovation, then you release it. You have your new standard. Then you implement Kaizen towards growing, and then you do another innovation. And then you continue growing all the way during the time of your business. So let's speak now about the scientific approach for creating and managing startups. The first thing is elimination of uncertainty. And that's what traditional startup methodology had. It was based on your gut and intuition. But if you speak with your customers and you get feedback, then we eliminate the uncertainty. Continuous testing tools, work smarter instead of more, examine the viability of the business in advance, because now it's easy to have a prototype, it's easy to have a functional prototype. Then provide customers feedback before the product is launched, develop an MVP, and validate the learning. So that circle of idea, build, learn has to be circled several times. The use of validation methods based on experiments, data, and statistical analysis, and continuous incremental adjustment of the entrepreneurial plans. That's the cycle, build, measure, learn, what I have explained. But now we're restructuring this principle. So out of build, measure, learn, we move into the hypothesis, design experiments, test, and gathering insights. And then again, providing a new hypothesis, design experiments, test. So this is the scientific way. So the lean startup methodology seeks to shorten product development cycles. That's the base element. That's why we do it. And quickly discover whether the proposed business model is sustainable. By the definition, at first sight, it might not be very obvious how this is related to Industry 4.0, but if we consider that this methodology is achieved by a combination of experimenting with business hypotheses, launching the product in iterations, and validated learning, it gets more clear that it's not only an advancement of the traditional way, but a paradigm shift for underlying rationale caused by Industrial Revolution. or with simpler words, the methodology based on the assumption that by iteratively building products or services to satisfy customers, the startup company will reduce market risks and the need for large initial investments, launching expensive products and failure. So the phase for in the validated learning is creating MVPs, or minimum viable product, and getting feedback from users to understand the real situation. One or more iterations to raise MVP performance closer to the ideal values. You have to do that. And deciding whether to continue developing in the same direction or the startup needs a pivot. So pivot is when you change the business hypothesis. If it's not decided not to continue in the same direction, the tested business hypothesis is abandoned and replaced with a new hypothesis. And then we start the pivot. We start the circle or the pivot once more. So even the business canvas model can be shifted towards lean canvas. That's an adapted version for startups. It focuses on customer problems and their solution by adapting the product or the service, as well as their delivery to customer segments through a unique value propositions. So the blocks key partners and key activities are replaced by problem and solution. And blocks key resources and customer relationships are replaced by key metrics and unfair advantage. So this is the business canvas model that it was presented earlier to you, and this is the lean canvas model. So we put this imaginary line in the middle that divides product and market left to right, and we change to problem and solution, and we change to unfair advantage and key metrics. But when you start doing it, you will see or you will feel more, you'll better understand this methodology. So what's the product validation flowchart? So this is the diagram that keeps you going into product validation. So we have the idea, you have the business module, all the steps that I have explained so far, and we come up to a point, decide what goes into the MVP. So either we're going to put all the features in, or we will something eliminate. The market is not ready at the moment. We don't have the resources to develop all these features or whatever. And then we build and rebuild MVPs. When we build the MVP, we need to have, we have two questions. Either customers buy the product. If the answer is yes, then the idea is validated. And the second thing is, are the customers using the product? If both answers are no, we have to come back to the MVP and decide what goes inside. Either we need to add something more, or maybe be that we need to pivot and start the lean methodology once more. So moving forward from the MVPs is the small business scalability. In my previous presentation, I was also explaining that and even measure it for the two business ideas for POWERWheel and agricultural app. So in context of business strategy, scalability describes a company's ability to grow without being hampered by its structure or available resources when faced with increased production. The businesses must focus on improving the profitability and efficiency. Here, the role of the leader is really important. The entrepreneur is the one that's going to take the role of the leader, and effectiveness of communication. Especially this is interesting as the company grows, the communication is losing effectiveness, and that's one of the most areas of potential failures start to build up. Scalable entities install sufficient tools for scaling the evaluation. So for startups, a scalable startup is one that begins with a lucrative and innovative idea and adopts a profitable business model that can grow quickly into a hugely profitable company. Again, I will stress profit. Tips for increasing the scalability. The right management with the human capital. Here you have to invest in people and you have to share the decision making. Use the lean principle and lean startup methodology to test the MVPs. Outsource non-strategic activities, because if you keep everything under one roof, then you will lose your resources to things that are not strategic for you. And also licensing and franchising are interesting ideas here to manage your scalability. Heavy marketing and indirect channels rather than direct marketing, and building open-ended and continuously improving businesses. So enough of the theory, let's go into practice. Let me show you how we have tested the model with lean startup technology for the POWERWheel business case. I've explained you already what the product is, what the problem is, what's the unique selling point. So we've started up building the product. As I've shown you in previous slides, when you need to generate induction and get electricity out of the rolling motion, you put a coil inside of, so this is the stator, you put a rotor around it with magnets, you get out induction. So this is the first product that we had. So we had an idea, we built it, and this is what we came up out. So the outer part, this light gray area, is the wheel, and that's 3D printed on a 3D printer. The inner, this gray area are magnets. We have 6 magnets connected to each other with different polarization. And inside we have the rotor, the stator, sorry. It's a metal cage with this shape and a coil inside. So here on this video, I'm showing you how it operates, but on the other direction. So right now the stator rotates and the rotor is still. In the testing, the rotor should turn and the stator should stay still, but this does not affect on the function of the device. So we've tested this. It's pretty easier. You connect the rod here to a drilling machine, you make 250 revolutions, and you measure with a unimer the result of the current that you get out of it. So we understand that the efficiency is very, very low. We need to produce 0.2 amperes from one wheel. With this design, we were somewhere around 0.1, 0. Even less, 0.09, something like that. So with the testing has showed us that this design is not appropriate. So we had to make the pivot, a new idea. Sorry. A new idea, a new design. The picture on your left is a demolition old hard disk drive from a computer. And we sourced we find our idea out of that. So it has these magnets, the plates that are permanent magnets, one-piece plates on both sides, and coils that are polarly placed in a circle. So we've copied that design and made this. In order to do this, we had to 3D print this disk, right? Use a simple, how it's called, a rolling cage, and put coils inside. So we've tested this, we've put permanent magnets on both sides, and here we had much better efficiency. But it produces a lot of other problems, like it's too heavy and the design is too complex. So we've learned something from the previous one, that this one gets better efficiency, but we had to move towards a different idea, and again a pivot of the circle, and we came up with this design. So the outer part is the ring. Here we have magnet segments, permanent magnet segments, the steel cage with metal rods and again permanent magnets inside. So this one moves the circle, right? Oh, sorry, this is a video. This one rotates the outer part of the wheel, and is so the change was, the first we started with 6 magnets. Now, I'm not sure if you can see in the video here, we have 64 smaller segments of permanent magnets connected to each other with different polarization. So as it rotates, it's changing the magnet flux. And with the inner magnet parts, we get electricity out of it. So these magnets are with different polarization. So that's how in 3 steps we have used the methodology to test the product and come up with the final design for our startup, really in a matter of in the period of 1 year. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was interesting for you. If you have any questions now, I'm here to answer them, or later on in the Q&A session. Thank you once again.